You have a dream to become a doctor, studying at one of the world's leading medical schools for Asia. Don't dream it. Make it happen at NUS-Medicine, a leader in medical education and research with a commitment to climate action. Join our prestigious NUS-Medicine fraternity. Be at the heart of our pedagogy. Access the latest learning resources. Be part of our community of student researchers. Enjoy the vibrant NUS campus life. Are you ready to follow your dream? Dream big at NUS Medicine, Singapore's first and largest medical school.
The School of Medicine has produced doctors for over 115 years, and we will continue to do that. We will continue to produce competent, caring and committed doctors, as well as nurses, scientists and innovators.
The aim of education for NUS Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine is to fulfill the vision of the school, which is inspiring health for all. We believe that all our learners, be they medical or nursing students or even graduate research students, will contribute to this vision. They will be inspired to do their best, to learn all that they have to be future ready and to work together to solve difficult healthcare problems in the future, and then really allow health to be promoted more and more. And this is not only just health in Singapore, but also health throughout the world.
At NUS Medicine, besides the clinical, biomedical and surgical skills that we impart to our graduates, we also hope to impart values such as respect, integrity, compassion and humility through the various education opportunities and by creating an environment that fosters such values. The medical school is really beyond just clinical skills and surgical skills. It is also about interacting with patients. It is also about understanding individual patient needs and the community that they come from and live in.
On the 21st of January 2020, before most of the world had any idea of what was going on, the NUHS Research Office awarded a grant to a team looking at how this virus could be diagnosed, how we could understand how it caused disease, and how we could begin to study treatments for this virus. And in addition, we did our own studies in the dormitories when the epidemics were raging there, and we showed that the use of a simple throat spray made of povidone iodine could reduce transmission in very crowded dormitory rooms. There were also a lot of basic science research projects which are really too many to list down.
And we hope that they will go out into the local healthcare industry to add to its vibrancy and excellence. We also hope that they will take their place in the world to improve health globally.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeremiah, a first-year medical student, and thank you for joining us at the NUS Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine Virtual Open House 2023. It is my pleasure to be taking you through our exciting lineup. We will hear from our esteemed faculty and student representatives during the live panel discussion and have the chance to engage with them directly at the Ask Me Anything sessions. Do also stick around and explore the NUS Metaverse, where we have more exciting content for you. So, if you have any burning questions, now's the best time to put them in the Q&A tab for us to address in the live panel later on. Alright, let's get this started. First off, introducing Professor Chong Yap Seng, Dean of the Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine.
Hi, I'm Chong Yap Seng, Dean of the NUS Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine. Today, I'll be answering some questions that you have about me and the school. Okay, let's get started. First question, were you a good student? You should probably ask my teachers about that, but in my own view, I think I was a fairly average student. One of the things that I had problems with was just memorizing everything. What I've tried to do with the curriculum nowadays is to make the subjects much more relevant to what they see in the wards and to help them to question more. What's your favorite memory as a student? I think looking back now, probably a lot of it is related to my youth at that time. You know, I was just young and happy, carefree, and I think probably the best memories were just hanging out with my clinical group mates, you know, going through the difficulties together and having fun together. I think that were the best memories. Okay, next question. What are some of your favorite places in NUS Medicine? quite a few. Unfortunately, many of them from my time have gone away. So one of the my favorite places was the science canteen, which fortunately still exists, although it's been completely renovated. So hanging out at a science canteen in the first 2 years of studying medicine, because that's where we were on campus. My favorite dish in a science canteen was the clay pot rice. That was great. Number 2 was the medical library. Unfortunately, that's gone. It's now the lobby of the MD6 building. But studying in the medical library was, I think, a constant activity that most of my classmates and myself did. And it was great. It wasn't just a matter of a place where you studied, it's also a place where you socialized, you met your potential future partners. I know many of my classmates actually met their spouses in the medical school and in the medical library. What do you like most about your job as the dean? I think the best part about being the dean is actually being able to make a difference that matters, which is, for me, the purpose of everything that we do, right? We don't want to just do little bits of things that are incremental. We want to be able to make changes that we think should be made, and then to bring people along with us. It's important for the school to groom and train a whole new generation of doctors and nurses that will help Singapore become a better place. Okay, next question. What do doctors wear when delivering a baby? I would say whatever they happen to have on at that point in time, because often when we deliver a baby, just rushing there to catch the baby before it comes out. So of course, the proper thing to do is to wear medical scrubs. But for me, often it was actually in my office clothes with my bow tie. And actually, I think the parents quite like the bow tie. So, yes, I think one thing you should know is that most of the time, delivery is not a sterile procedure like you see in an operating theatre. It's a clean procedure. How did it feel when you delivered your first baby? Wow. I think I delivered my first baby in NUH labour ward back in 1986 or so. Interesting mix of emotions, from being nervous, worried that you do something wrong, to being really excited, and then suddenly having your own emotions mingled with that of the parents, and then as they saw the baby for the first time, and the baby starts to cry, and the midwife tells you what to do next. So it's a great mixture of feelings that I think it's a really wonderful experience. I wish more medical students will have the experience of delivering a baby, although these days it's getting a little bit more difficult to have those real life experiences, but we try our best. Okay, great. So I have some items in front of me. So one is the school tie, which I actually designed myself. It features lining drawings or pictures of our school orchid, the Vanda NUS-Main. So both the school tie and this school scarf have the school orchid on them, and they were both designed to commemorate Singapore's bicentennial in 2019. There's a different one for each class so that they have that identity. Second thing I would like to show is the COVID-19 Chronicles book. Dale Fisher, one of our faculty members, was the chair of the WHO's Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network, or GOAN, because he was obviously setting policy for the world. And these cartoons were published mainly to educate the public about the right facts around COVID-19. And we thought the best way to do it was to turn him into a cartoon character. Well, thank you for listening. I hope my answers were of some use to you. I wish you all the best, and I would love to invite all of you to drop by anytime to visit us on the campus.
Thank you, Prof. Chong. As a student, it is so encouraging to see how our school is constantly reinventing itself to be better for its students and the community we serve. Now, you may be wondering what it's like to embark on the journey of becoming a doctor. To be honest, I did wonder about these challenges that lie ahead and the support networks available to me. And although I'm only in the first year, I can assure you that you will not be alone. What I really value about NUS Medicine is the extensive community that we become a part of. This means the support I receive doesn't end when I graduate. Graduates of NUS Medicine will be part of a wider network of healthcare professionals that will constantly help you to grow and navigate the ups and downs of your career. Now, let's explore the journey at NUS Medicine with Dr. Mario.
Growing up, I wanted to be so many things. A firefighter, a teacher, a social worker. I guess I've always wanted to help others. In my first year at the school-wide camps and house activities, I met my closest group of friends who definitely helped me find my bearings. This was also when I met my assigned mentor who, till this day, remains a confidant and is always ready to listen. Oh, and I'll never forget the day I put on my very first white coat. Phase 2, let's go! Here, we start getting equipped with the skills we need as medical professionals through our Clinical Foundational Skills course. But the learning doesn't just stop at figuring out how to set an IV drip or suturing. Many of us also take up leadership roles in community projects like our annual public health service. In my third and fourth year, I got to learn at various hospital teaching sites and rotated through the different fields as a part of the professional healthcare teams during the core clinical practice and acute and specialty clinical practice. We were also given the opportunity to propose our own electives. Some of us continued in clinical electives, but I chose my own learning journey at a farm in Germany to cultivate a sense of discipline and an understanding of organic chemistry. It was definitely a nice respite in the midst of med school. After passing our clinical exams in year 4, we got to step up in our roles in the student internship program and formally attached to the healthcare teams in hospitals and clinics. I could finally call the patients my patients, under strict supervision, of course. The unwavering commitment of the teams in delivering care on a daily basis was truly inspiring to me. After 5 years of hard work, I finally graduated and began my role as a house officer. Boy, was I glad that I was equipped with the perspectives, soft skills, and values I need to serve my patients and those around me. It's not easy bringing your best self to work every day. I'm thankful for all the great mentors who continue to support me and inspire me to pass it on. In medicine, no one is an island. It's your turn to chart your journey, always rooting for you.
From what I hear from my seniors, the 5 years in NUS Medicine was the best time of their lives. As a first year, I simply cannot wait for what the future holds. Having the privilege of being a student of NUS Medicine has always been my dream. Every day reminds me of the journey that we take with patients and the immense responsibility that it requires. This is the sobering weight of the profession that I share with any of my peers that ask why I joined medicine. I hope that you have a better sensing on how the school and your peers will be there for you at every step of the way. Up next is our step-by-step guide on how you can join us at NUS Medicine.
We're excited that you're looking to apply to the NUS Yongloo Lin School of Medicine. In this video, we will be looking at the process of application and answer some of the most frequently asked questions. NUS Medicine portfolio submission opens in January every year. To apply, you will need to complete one application and one portfolio submission on 2 separate sites: the application to NUS Office of Admissions and the portfolio to NUS Medicine. The first step is to apply through the NUS Office of Admissions website and indicate medicine as your first or second choice. As the various qualification types require different documents, please refer to this link for a detailed guide. Once you've completed this step, head over to the NUS Medicine portal to submit your portfolio. This is where you're required to submit your personal statement, list of achievements, referee details, and official school testimonial. Now, let's take a look at the 2 submission processes available: the Standard Scheme and the Aptitude-Based Admission Scheme, or the ABAS. The difference between the 2 schemes is that the Standard Scheme shortlists applicants purely based on academic results. On the other hand, ABAS allows NUS Medicine to exercise additional discretionary criteria in shortlisting students for the admissions exercise. If you are uncertain if you've met the academic criteria for application to NUS Medicine, please also indicate that you would like to be considered under the ABAS. Please note that the ABAS has an earlier deadline than the latter. applications submitted through this route will be evaluated by the selection committee on the basis of contributions and achievements in non-academic areas such as sport, community service, leadership, and so on. Applicants who apply through ABAS and meet the academic cutoff will automatically be shortlisted for the admissions exercise. Students may only submit one portfolio through either the ABAS or standard scheme from January. If you have attended focused skill assessments, FSA, or situational judgment tests, SJT, in previous years, you must apply via the ABAS. The selection committee reviewing your submitted documents would take into consideration not only what you did as a student, but also what you have done since your last interview. To submit your portfolio to NUS-Medicine, you will need to prepare the following documents and information for submission. ABAS applicants have the option to provide additional supporting documents as part of your portfolio. This can include additional referee recommendations or achievement certificates. Academic transcripts are not required. While it may seem important that you provide any and every achievement that you have, it will actually be advantageous if your portfolio is clear and concise. This directs the reviewers to the key contributions or achievements you would like to highlight. All your supporting documents should be compiled into one PDF document. Seeing this page means you have successfully submitted your documents. If you do not see this page, please refresh the page and check that all the newly updated information has been submitted. You will also receive an email to confirm that your application has been submitted successfully. If you are shortlisted, you will receive an e-shortlist letter from NUS with the admissions assessment details by the end of March. After which, you will need to attend the focused skills assessment and situational judgment test to assess your aptitude to NUS-Medicine. If you are offered a place, you will receive a formal offer to the Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine, which you should accept before the end of May. If you have any further questions, please check out our FAQ page. All the best!
The admissions process may seem daunting. It certainly was for me. Just take things step by step and be sincere and honest, not just with the admissions reviewers, but with yourself too. This will go a long way, and I wish you the best of luck. Now, let's meet today's panel of faculty and students who will be answering some of the questions about what life at NUS-Medicine is like. If you have any questions during the panel, submit them in the Q&A tab. Prof. Chen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. I'm so tempted to say, click here and subscribe to Jeremiah's channel. Well, for some of you who do not know, Jeremiah is also a YouTuber. He is one of many examples of how our students are able to integrate their interests and their skills and expertise together with their everyday life in medical school. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tze Siong. I'm the Assistant Dean of Education for the NUS Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine. Now, for those of you who joined us on Saturdays, the physical open house, we welcome you to join us this evening again. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we hope that you will find the next hour or so informative, as well as knowing a little bit more about how we train the next generation of healthcare providers. But before we begin, I would like to introduce this evening's panelists, or the people that I will be having a conversation with. So, moving from your screen right, we have Nathan. He's our first-year medical student. Nathan, would you like to share a little bit about yourself and perhaps one fun fact?
Sure. Thanks, Prof. Chen. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan. I'm a first-year medical student, and one fun fact is prior to medical school, I was a veterinary nurse.
All right. Indrani? Indrani is our assistant dean for students.
Hi everyone. I'm Indrani. I take care of the student care and support team at NUS-Medicine. Maybe a fun fact is I'm an avid gardener.
Awesome. So we have someone who can take care of animals as well as gardening. And next, we have our third-year medical student, Ria.
Hi everyone, I'm Ria. I'm a third-year medical student. Not many fun facts, but I'm currently doing my general surgery rotation at Sengkang General Hospital.
All right, thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Professor Marion, who is our Vice Dean of Students.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm the chair of the admissions committee as well, and a pediatrician by training. Fun fact, I'll probably say I picked up a skill during COVID-19, and that was baking.
Oh yes, I have actually validated Prof. Marian's cooking is actually quite outstanding in terms of her baking skills. Now, as for me, my fun fact is I like to talk, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So, all right, I guess you have spent quite a time watching the video, and I'm sure many of you enjoyed the video. But it's also time to kind of lighten things up a little bit before we go into some more serious discussion. And so we're going to kind of get you to play a little bit of a trivia, about 4 questions, right? And my colleagues will be flashing the QR code. So scan the QR code, and it will take you to the first of 4 questions. And try your hand at these questions and see how many of them you can actually get correct. And we'll get our students to explain the right answers for some of these questions. But don't worry about getting the questions wrong, all right? It will have no implication on your application to the medical school whatsoever. Parents, you are welcome to participate and join as well. Okay, I think the first question is firing up. How many years does an NUS medical student study for? All right, about 10 seconds for the answers to come in. All right, excellent. The right answer is 5 years. Well, for those of you who put 6 years, well, it depends on whether you fail or pass your exam. Okay, but most of people actually graduate in 5 years. All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, which of the following are methods of learning in NUS medicine? Okay, you have the first option, virtual reality, patient-based. Okay, you have the anatomy hall, collaborative learning cases, all of the above. Our exam smart students will know exactly how to answer this. All right, and the majority of you are absolutely right. All right, but unfortunately, most of the time we do not ask all of the above in our exams. Moving on to the third question. Okay, let's see what's our third question. Which of these do not fall under a doctor's job scope? This one is interesting. Prescribing, advising, or deciding which treatment patients should receive. I guess this one needs a bit of explanation. Perhaps we can get our first-year medical student to explain to us why the last one is the correct answer.
Thanks, Prof. Chen. Well, at first when we read the statement, it does sound quite logical, quite sound reasoning. But more often than not, the partnership between doctors and patients is key. And so the decision making process actually involves both the doctor and the patient. The doctor, of course, educating patients on the best treatment options available, and the patients, of course, communicating their best interests and their healthcare goals. And so it is a partnership between both parties.
Okay, well done, Nathan. I see that you have learned your medical ethics very, very well. Our tutors will be proud. All right, let's move on to the last question. Okay, last question. Which of these topics are taught in NUS medicine? All right, TCM and anatomy, health informatics and entrepreneurship. Again, all of the above. By now, you're beginning to see a pattern, I guess. And you're absolutely right. The thing is that is all of the above really all of the above? Maybe we get Ria to share a little bit more. Is there anything more beyond all this?
Yeah, so actually there's definitely a lot more besides what's written on the screen. So definitely NUS puts a lot of focus on pathology and your pharmacology and physiology, but we do learn a lot more of the alternate topics, including some introductions into alternative medicine, including TCM. And we do have modules in M2, which is our second year, and our third year, to go through a bit of bioinformatics and health informatics. And it really helps to get a better understanding of the health and general population in Singapore.
All right, thank you very much, Ria. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed the trivia that we just ran for you. Again, for those who won, unfortunately, it does not come with direct admission to the medical school. But for those who did not win, fret not. Again, it has no implication whatsoever. Okay, so whoever is ribbit, congratulations. All right, a big congratulations to you and for winning the trivia. Well done. All right, now let's move on to something more serious. And perhaps I will start off with this evening first question. During the actual physical open house last Saturday, one of the most frequently asked questions was, what is NUS Medical School curriculum like? And perhaps at this point, I could invite Professor Marian to share with us a little bit more.
Okay, thank you, Chee Siong. So you might have seen on our website or heard from our friends, the curriculum is a 5-year program. The first 2 years really are foundations in the medical sciences as well as foundations in clinical practice. So we give our students a broad basis in terms of grounding them in the medical science knowledge as well as introducing them a little bit to patient care and patient interaction. And then the next 3 years, from years 3, 4 and 5, that's where the bulk of the clinical training occurs, both in the hospitals as well as in the outpatient clinics. And our students get a chance to rotate through all the different hospitals in Singapore and through various different departments and disciplines.
Thank you very much, Professor Marian. So, Dr. Indrani, I understand that you are involved in the second year of the medical curriculum, teaching pharmacology. How does this impact you?
So I think right now we are going to have the enhanced medical curriculum. So enhance is the right word because there's a continuous effort to improve our curriculum here. And part of that efforts include increasing clinical exposure for our preclinical students. And we are also going to better integrate some of the systems to teach both the normal systems and the abnormal systems concurrently. I think these are all continuous efforts the school is making to make sure that the students get the world-class education they deserve.
All right, thank you very much, Indrani. So with all these changes that are going on, and as we understand that Singapore is going towards an AI economy, what is NUS Medicine doing to prepare our medical students for the future digital healthcare sector? Perhaps Marian or Indrani would like to share?
Well, I think the school actually had the foresight to introduce some of this teaching a couple of years ago, initially as electives where students can actually opt in to do something along the lines of data and digital literacy. But the good news is from this year onwards, in the year 1 curriculum, the students will be all required to take modules in data literacy as well as digital literacy. So this would be really the foundations to ensure that our students are equipped with some of these, what we call the knowledge economy of the future. Yeah.
Indrani, anything regarding this? Or the students? What Nathan, any thoughts about the implication of bioinformatics, clinical informatics?
I do feel that it's very new frontiers that we're breaking here, and although these are not conventionally what we think we come into medical school to learn, just as Prof. Marian has shared, I think these are definitely foresights that the school has had. And so as a current medical student, I think that gives me the reassurance that we are preparing very well for the future, even though we can't exactly see how it's best applied at the moment. So the preparation, I think, is something that's very important that we do here. And I think for that, the students are all very appreciative of it.
Yeah, speaking of the digital and data literacy pillars that Professor Marian mentioned, actually, our students also have the opportunity to learn these together with other students from other health professions, nursing, pharmacy, and dentistry. And that gives them the opportunity to kind of look into each other's lenses and how to apply this knowledge in different settings and contexts and work together. So before I move on, I thought just to say that, on top of that, students could selectively choose to do a pathway moving forward on health informatics And then moving even further, students even perhaps have the possibility to take time off between their 4th and 5th year to pursue perhaps a master's degree in biomedical informatics. So these are all very exciting developments that are coming your way, should you choose to join us at Yong Loo Lin School of Medicine. So at this point of time, perhaps I would also like to kind of invite Ria and Nathan to share with us, health informatics, bioinformatics is great, but as a medical student, what else interests you? What else do you want to learn?
Yeah, would you like to go first?
Okay, so I can go first. So personally, when I entered medical school, one of the things I was really looking forward to was having a bigger involvement in the community and having this opportunity to help in ways that weren't necessarily present to us as JC students or polytechnic students. And one of the ways that this is possible is that NUS really has a lot of local community involvement projects and overseas community involvement projects. So personally, I was part of the public health service, and what we did was to hold basically Singapore's largest health screening every year, and this was targeted towards anyone over the age of 40 to about 60 to 70 generally, because our point was to screen the general population for any long-standing diseases that we could pick up early. And this was one of the ways that I felt that NUS really helped to cater to my interests personally, and I really felt like I was making a difference in on the ground as a medical student in ways that I wasn't able to before. And in addition, a lot of students have interest in research, and that is another thing that NUS really provides really well. So of course, there's always the opportunity to self-find research and to contact professors on your own, ask for research opportunities. But NUS also has a lot of established societies that do offer these research opportunities, and they're available all the way from your first year as a medical student to your 5th year as a medical student, and even as a junior doctor. And these are really, they're not compulsory, and they're really up for students if they're interested, if they find the topic something that's close to their heart, something that they want to learn more to. It's definitely a possibility for something for you to look into and to learn more about the topic while still feeling like you're making an actual difference to the literature landscape of medicine, which I thought was really interesting.
Thank you very much, Ria. There was a lot of things that you mentioned. Amazing. I can't even begin to say how you juggle all this. But before I go there, maybe Nathan, what about you?
Sure. So I personally have an interest in medical education. And so right from the get-go, even in year 1, we see how medical education is role modeled by our teachers. I'm sure by now most of you have also read on the website and found out the different teaching modalities that we have. And I think that's a testament to understanding how unique being able to teach medicine is an opportunity. And so looking at our teachers and having the opportunity myself to also be a part of the education process, maybe not to the extent where teachers are in the classrooms teaching students, but rather being involved in my own cohort's learning process. For example, our medical society has a branch of EduTeam whereby we do a needs assessment and curricular review. And so right from the beginning, I'm able to actually enhance and equip myself with the skills that are needed to understand what it is that really goes into medical education, the needs of the students, receiving feedback, and how we can actually improve over time. And so these are the skills that I also see my teachers emulating. And so it's very insightful and also very encouraging to see that this is something that the school has set aside, has given the opportunity for students to pursue if they are interested in it.
Wow, thank you so much, Nathan. Yeah, absolutely right. Before there are doctors, there were teachers, right? And again, I'm not asking us to suddenly all go to NIE and all that. But no, again, I have to say this because my wife is a teacher herself, and some of her students are actually currently in residency in NUH. So I think teaching and healthcare goes hand in hand together. And speaking of research, I'm so glad, Ria, you mentioned not just you're running one of the largest public health screening in Singapore, but in fact, again, shameless plug for public health service. This Saturday, they're running a panel discussion as well as a training for JC students on how to become health ambassadors in their own community. But in terms of research, the NUS Yong Loo Lin School of Medicine actually provides the end-to-end training, almost like the PE of research, all the way to the Olympic level of research, and with very, very generous funding to support our students, going for conferences as well as our various research resources that they need to acquire for their work. All right, so with so much to learn, I mean, there's so little time. I'm sure students must be so stressed and there must be so much swirling their head. I really wonder, what is the school doing to support our students, not just professional journey, but also their own personal journey in the school and beyond? And how does that all come together? Perhaps Professor Marion or Indrani would like to share with us your thoughts.
Yes, so we certainly recognize that it's a long journey and it's also an arduous journey for all our students. The support networks for the students are weaved. There are multiple layers of support networks that are weaved together, and it actually starts with the students themselves. Peer support is one of the most important, crucial support that the entire school actually relies on. Students looking out for each other, being there for each other, and it starts with their clinical groups. And then there is also the house systems. So there are like 10 houses at NUS-Medicine. And each of these houses embodies a certain core value that NUS-Medicine values. And inside this house system, so they have these rooms that the students have, which they can utilize for bonding, for hanging out with each other, for just conversations and playing games and things like that. And these houses have mentors and master mentors who look after the students in this space. And the mentors are very valuable resources, and they're very valuable support system as well for the students. They can always reach out to their mentors. So all students are assigned mentors from the very start, and they can reach out to their mentors for whatever needs they have. At the same time, we also have coaches. So we have ontological coaches who are trained coaches, who are faculty members, who are also on board in the house systems. So students are also introduced to this coaching culture very early from year 1 onwards. Of course, we also recognize that the concerns students have is quite a wide range. So sometimes there are certain things which they would not be able to share with their mentors, or they would want other forms of support. So for myself, I take care of the student care and support team at the Office for Students. The Office for Students plays an important role in coordinating all these efforts in terms of the mentors, the coaches, and other form of student support. At the Office for Students, we also have the student support managers, who are basically the lifelines for our students when they have real issues to deal with. And then lastly, at the university level, we have counseling support and also other form of resources where counseling or psychiatrists in this framework as well. So as I said, all of these support layers are weaved, and no one support system is enough. But as we always tell our students, the most important thing is to be there for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. My well-being feels better already listening to Indrani talk. And in fact, Indrani is not just there for her students, but she's also there for her colleagues and her peers and a long-time friend like me. And so remember our lunch tomorrow, and support means the lunch is on you, all right? So, okay, but it sounds like, Indrani, you're playing the good cop and everything. Is there a good cop, bad cop thing? Maybe, Prof. Marion, are you the bad cop? Or is there anything you want to add on about student well-being support and etc.?
Yeah, so I think the school does have a very nice support structure for students, but ultimately really it's how the students make connections with one another. And I think a lot of the extracurricular activities that they do when they do community service or they participate in sports, all of these give them opportunities for interaction. I think what is really, really important is for them to sort of remind themselves also two things, right? The meaning of what they're doing. So healthcare is, in a sense, noble. So to remind themselves why they picked to do medicine in the first place. And secondly is to actually remind themselves that we are all human beings, right? And sometimes it's a bit difficult when you think of your aspirational goal. You want to do everything under the sun, but you also need to have a sort of reality check to realize that I'm only human and I need downtime. I don't always succeed. I can fail, and it's actually okay to fail, and we learn from our mistakes and our failures. And really important as a community and network, how students or even faculty support each other and our students.
Thank you very much, Marion. So it sounds like, there's a lot the school is doing to support our students as well as our faculty, but it also sounds like the students themselves would have to play a big part in helping themselves thrive in medical school. So at this juncture, perhaps, I could invite Nathan and Ria to share a little bit about, to you personally, what are some of the values and attributes that you felt, kind of work for you that helped you to survive, at least in the past year, and for you, the past 3 years? And maybe you could share some very specific examples.
Right. Perhaps I'll go first. For me, having come this time so far, it's rather a short time in medical school so far, but I think the value that really speaks out to me is humility. And by that, I mean having the humility to really reach out when you know you need help, be it in the form of friends, where we see moral support being one of the strong pillars that students rely on, or even from your tutors and your teachers in the form of academic help. And so being able to recognize that, yes, I'm trying my best, there are still times where I fall short, and it's okay to be able to admit that I do need help. And so it's very heartening to know that the help is there, it's readily available, as long as I think you recognize and you know you need that help. So don't be afraid to reach out when you do need that help.
All right, what about you, Ria?
So personally, I feel like a lot of people talk about being responsible, having integrity. These are all very true, but something that has been quite close to my heart, especially as a new clinically shadowing student in M3, is the importance of taking initiative. Because once you go into clinical postings, what we tend to realize is that there's a lot of resources available, there are a lot of opportunities available, and a lot of doctors who have this whole vast amount of knowledge that they're willing to teach you. But unless you take the initiative to ask around and try and find the opportunities for yourself and take the time to actually learn from your seniors and create opportunities for yourself, it's quite hard to thrive, because you need to know when you are interested in something, when something is important to you. And ultimately, I found that as long as you are sure of your purpose, why you've entered medicine, and you keep that in mind even through your clinical school, it is quite easy to take initiative, and you find yourself becoming more and more confident in the clinical workspace as well. So personally, for me, taking initiative has been something that I've had to learn, and I'll continue to learn over the next 3 years. And I feel like medicine in NUS has really, really taught me the importance of that.
All right, that's very profound, Ria. So I guess, if we don't know what is our purpose and we don't know where to take our initiative, I would say the best place to start is to at least take the initiative to seek help from Dr. Indrani, right? And so as an excellent team, and they will always be ready to kind of talk to you about everything in life. So now, at this point, speaking of seeking help, perhaps, if I kind of mess up my platforms at any point of time, I'm going to seek help from my colleagues, because I'm currently looking at 2 platforms where questions are coming in hard and fast, and I'm going to try my best to cover as many of them as possible and to honor some of you who have actually taken the time and effort to submit these questions way ahead. So I'm just going to kind of put a few questions and ask them together in one breath. And in general, what is the admissions committee looking for in prospective medical students? In other words, how can they make their portfolio more attractive? What sort of qualities will help them stand out?
I take that. Now, I suppose broadly, we are really looking for students who actually embody and believe in the values of the school. And if you think about it, if you've ever interacted with doctors or clinicians, you would say, do I aspire to be like the person who's treating me, right? So what qualities you would like to see in your own physician would be the qualities we look for in potential or prospective students of the school.
All right. Indrani, anything to add? Or you
No, I think that's a good way of looking at it. If I would like my doctor to be a certain way, I think that is something I should also embody when I'm in this process.
All right.
I guess maybe just to add on, it is also quite important to be yourself when you show up for the interviews or the sessions, because being in your natural state, in your natural state really does make a difference, and I think it's quite easy for the people who are interviewing you to also see that, and I think just to be calm and relaxed and to give your best self at that interview is pretty important. So do be mindful of how you show up on that actual day. I think that is quite valuable to keep in mind.
Okay, all right. I hope that's helpful to all those listening out there. Now, the next question, students, get ready. All right. What is student life like at NUS Medicine? What are lessons like? Is there time for personal time? I mean, I guess there's always time to look for Dr. Indrani. Or is there time for extracurricular activities? How often are lessons in a week? Okay, so Nathan and Ria, say whatever you want, okay? No hard feelings. Say it as it is. Preach it.
Right. Perhaps maybe I can give an insight into what it's like in the preclinical years, and then Ria, maybe you can do the clinical years. And so, even though I've only been in school for this 1 year, the truth is that the rigor is very intense. But with that said, just as Prof. Chen has mentioned, there is time also to relax, to take a breather, provided you have the discipline to also know when to study and when to play, I guess. But with all that said, also, it's not always a solo journey, you know. So you also have your friends to depend on, to bounce ideas off, to study with, to play with. And so it's a very good mix. But yeah, it does take quite a bit of discipline and responsibility to know that, okay, first of all, my priority is to study. And so once that is over, once the intense periods of mugging and exams are over, it's also important to then take time to relax. I think it's worthwhile also to mention all the projects that we have here at NUS-Medicine, from our overseas CIPs to our local CIP projects. It caters to quite a wide variety of interests here. And so students often find themselves participating in several projects just because many of them are so enticing, knowing that they have a purpose being there as a member in their first year, and then taking on leadership roles as well in the second year. And so there's also that growth that you see in yourself outside of the classroom in areas that you're interested in. So definitely possible, definitely possible. Yeah, so just, I guess the best is to be self-aware also of what your learning needs are, and what truly helps you to unwind, to relax, so that you're recharged and ready to go for the next exam when it comes.
All right. Yeah?
So, firstly, I totally agree, but I think that's more of a battle that you face in M1 when you're really learning like the limitations of how much you can study, how much you need to study. And generally, I would say by the end of your first year, or even by the end of your first semester, everyone kind of has it nailed down of, number one, how you want to study, how much time you want to dedicate to that, and more importantly, what your priorities are in terms of your student life. So for me personally, it was community involvement and having my friends. So Dr. Infrani mentioned that the house groups are a very good way to form connections, and I personally found some of my best friends through my house, and for me that was a very big respite. So every few weeks, just meeting them once in a while, that I felt like that was more than enough for me to recharge. And even then, no matter how hard the work gets, as long as you know how to time manage, there is always time to both do your community involvement, research, gym, exercise, sleep, anything that is your interest. I think ultimately there is a lot of time. Everyone only has 24 hours, but if you are smart about it and you know how to prioritize, there's definitely a way to have a very, very enriching student life outside of just studying for medicine. And personally, I feel like having a student life outside of medicine is something that really helps you grow as a clinician as well, because we don't want to be clinicians who grow up who are only focused on academics all the time, because ultimately we are treating patients who have lives of their own, and they are not going to be coming up to you with exactly your textbook diagnosis where you can explain to them. And having this student life outside of studying, it really shows you how to grow as a person and how to mature, how to connect with people, how to recognize when people need help, how to recognize when you need help. And ultimately, I think student life is really very, very possible and very encouraged, and something that everyone will develop on their own throughout the years of medical school.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think our students are very relaxed. My second and third year medical student in my hostel, the second year student just played in a band over the weekend for NUS Open House, and then he's running a cafe. And my third year student is going skydiving, and I'm doing a YouTube series with my fourth year student because I want to be like Jeremiah. All right, so, okay, now let's move on to the next question, perhaps Prof. Marion. So these are very practical questions about finances and whatnot. Is there any scholarship for medicine? Does NUS Merit Scholarship cover medicine?
Yes, so NUS gives out a number of scholarships for medical students. If I believe the number is 6 from NUS Merit Scholarships. And in the past few years, our Dean has also been very generous to add on another 4 scholarships from the medical school. So we do understand that medicine is an expensive course, and there are good students, and we would really like to recognize them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marian. I think that's very reassuring, and we hope that none of our applicants will be kind of turned off or feel discouraged because of financial challenges. All right, let's move on. Yes.
So other than scholarships, maybe I should mention that we also have bursaries, right? Because we do realize that medicine is so expensive. So we have quite a number of bursaries that we will also disperse to students based on their family financial requirements. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marian, for that add-on. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And I think that this is a question that is also recurring in the Q&A as well. If a student has no shadowing experience or any activity related to healthcare, will the candidate stand a lesser chance of being accepted?
Okay. So I'll take that again. I think ultimately the most important question candidates or prospective students should ask themselves is whether you know what you're getting yourself into, right? Do you know what it entails to be a doctor or future healthcare professional? And part of the interview process is quite likely you'll be asked that question, why do you want to pursue medicine? Do you know what you're getting yourself into? Because medicine, while it's a very meaningful career, the path is tough, right? The studying is tough, the work is tough. After you graduate, it actually gets tougher, right? So we really want people to know what they're getting themselves into. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marian. The next question, I'll just kind of touch on it a little bit because it is quite popular, but I would encourage you to go to the Ask Me Anything room. Basically, the question goes, are medical students encouraged to stay in hall or residential college where it is more chill? Okay, I just want to highlight to you, again, doing a bit of shameless plug here. NUS recently launched a fourth residential model, and it's called the house system. All right, there you will actually find many of your peers there as well. So for those of you who are interested to find out more, I encourage you to join the Ask Me Anything room after this segment. Okay, let's go on to the next question. And I think this is a quite interesting one. I'll perhaps invite Nathan to address this. How many polytechnic students do you think we roughly have in a year? Is there any limit?
Well, in my batch this year, there are a total of 18 polytechnic students. The school doesn't have a quota on the number of poly students that are able to be admitted into the program. And so perhaps while I'm on this topic also, I think I would like to encourage prospective students, especially those with polytechnic backgrounds or various backgrounds, to recognize that your backgrounds are also very unique. And so you come with your own set of experiences, you come with your own set of skills and goals in mind, and I think that is what truly makes you unique. And so if you're able to convey that during your interview, I think that can possibly help you stand out as an individual. And so don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Know that although it is a different path that you're on from some of your friends, it is okay. And I think one of the most encouraging things is to also know that it is possible. As much as we may say it out loud and tell you during open houses, oh yes, it is impossible. It's nice to look at the actual cohort and see all these faces and all these personalities that have of course, strived so hard and worked so hard, just as hard as others to make it in, and the school recognizes that. So yeah, don't be afraid to try, I think.
Thank you so much. In fact, not just Nathan, but Jeremiah are both our very outstanding students from the Polytechnic route. And I'm sure many of you agree that we are extremely proud of them, and it's very clear that they're doing extremely well as well. So yes, we strongly encourage our our friends from the Polytechnic route to go on and apply for the NUS Medicine. Okay, so the next question, maybe Ria, you're in phase 3, right? So the next question goes, what are the overseas experiences available for an NUS Medicine student? So perhaps you want to share with the audience where you are going?
So to give some background on what are the overseas opportunities available for medicine, there is some time for an elective period in M3 as well as in M4. So in M3, if I remember correctly, it's about 1 month to around 6 weeks. And in M4, it's a bit longer, around 10 to 12 weeks, when you have this time available to either study clinical or non-clinical specialties overseas or in Singapore. And NUS medicine is very, very diligent. They give a lot of courses that you are able to sign up for and to apply for. But at the same time, you can self-arrange for courses as in which as you apply. So supposing someone has a particular interest in, say, cardiology in NUH, you can always feel free to message a doctor or to contact the doctor there and ask if you're able to complete your elective there. If it's overseas, that's applicable as well. So on a more personal note of what I'll be doing this year. So personally, last year, during my internal medicine posting, I had a chance to go through 1 week of palliative medicine at the hospice. And over there, I had a chance to interact with some of the art therapists who aren't doctors, but still have a huge, huge impact on patients, especially when they are in their last 2 or 3 months of life. And it was really heartening for me to see all the patients really, how just painting one flower brings them so much joy, or how painting something can help them feel happier, sadder, and that was something that I found very, very interesting. So this year, for my elective, aside from some clinical work, I'll be going for 1 month overseas to Italy to study art therapy. Totally approved by the school is one of the electives that are allowed. Non-clinical, something that I think will act as a respite to my clinical studying between M3 and M4, but it's still ultimately something that I feel will help me become a better clinician in the future, something that will really enrich my learning and enrich my life in general. So as long as you have the ability to explain why the elective that you're going for, whether it's clinical or non-clinical, will add to your learning and make you a better clinician. Generally, NUS-Medicine is all for it. They will support you all the way, and you have all the support of the profs and the teachers and all your contacts overseas.
Wow, and you're welcome, Ria. I totally look forward to your reflection. And in fact, every Christmas, I'm gifted with 300 reflections from our students who go on all these very exotic experiences and linking them up with their future medical practice. And I assure you, it's totally not sus, all right? They're totally legit. Okay, but on top of that, I would just kind of also perhaps add on that what Ria shared, the NUS-Medicine is continuously evolving and developing overseas opportunities, not just in clinical exposure, but also in non-clinical exposure, such as research, perhaps even in areas of related industrial entrepreneurship and so on and so forth. And again, we are always looking to further our partnership with various universities and organizations all around the world and making sure that our students get the best experience, not just in Singapore, but also with our partners overseas. Okay, the next question, pretty interesting one. Perhaps I will get Indrani to share, and also maybe students and Prof. Marian. Are introverts suitable for medical school?
Okay, I do wonder what the person was thinking when they wrote this question down, though. I think any career is suitable for anybody who is, as long as they're willing to work with others. Especially in a profession like medicine, what does matter is your willingness to work with others. Teamwork is very critical, so we can be introvert in our spaces. I think that's not an issue. But what is important is when we need to work with others, we do that, and we do that professionally. So I do wonder what the person was thinking when they wrote this, but I hope that's my take on it.
Okay, what about the students? Do you think you are introvert, extrovert, somewhere in between?
Personally, I think it's good to have a balance between both. Although, of course, I think for most of us, we would know if we are slightly more introverted or extroverted. Perhaps, Prof. Indrani, maybe as this person was speaking, perhaps they were thinking that, as physicians, we are continually interacting with others, we're working together, we're talking. Yeah. And so perhaps that could be one of the thought processes that they were having. But I definitely do think what Prof. Indrani has shared is definitely true. I think when it is critical, it's regardless of whether or not you're introverted or extroverted, but being able to put yourself out there to recognize that the needs of the patient is much greater than that of perhaps maybe the discomfort you might feel having to speak up. And with that said, I think even in this one short year, coming to a year now that I've been in medical school, I do see my friends, some of them who may be more used to being a little bit more introverted. But by going through the learning modalities in school, being able to walk into the wards and speak to patients, I've been able to witness how they also grow out of their shell. And I think, again, that is a testament to the growth mindset that they've allowed themselves to have. And so coming into medical school, that's also something that we encourage, I think, students and friends to also help each other with, to identify their needs and grow as a person and not just stay who they are all the time. Yeah.
Maybe thanks, Nathan. I think one good thing that this conversation brought to my mind was actually the coaching conversations we have with our students. We do have students sometimes who share about their personalities, being an introvert, being an extrovert. And sometimes one of the questions we ask you is, how does this entire framing serve you? How is it that when you think of yourself as an introvert, what opportunities do you actually deprive yourself of, or do you offer yourself? So it is kind of a mindset, and sometimes it precedes you. So so again, this is a space where coaching could also be useful. But going back to what Nathan also was mentioning, it should not stop you from being the best version of yourself. Yeah.
Fully agree. Yes.
If I can add on, personally, I'm a huge introvert, like a super huge introvert. But I think a lot of people, when they ask, should I apply to medicine if I'm an introvert, are implying that being an introvert is a bad thing, which is not necessarily true, because a lot of the introverts that you meet, you can be introverted, which means that your social battery runs out fast, but a lot of them make the best connections that you've seen with people on a very personal level. Absolutely. And that's something that's super important for medicine. And ultimately, as long as you're an introvert who knows when to take initiative, when to talk, when not to talk, you don't have to put yourself in a situation where you're constantly talking all the time and draining your social battery like crazy. And you can still have an extremely fulfilling time. And I would dare say that sometimes being an introvert will play to your favor when you know when to talk and when, more importantly, when to be quiet and when to let the patient speak. So I think whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it really doesn't matter. And it's how you can play on your own strengths to make you the best candidate possible and explain to the panel why you should be taken in and why you would be a good clinician.
All right. Anything to add on?
I think it's all been well said.
Yeah, wonderful. I think that was incredibly eloquent for an introvert. and I would say, I think at the end of the day, you don't have to fit yourself into any kind of mold. Yep. I mean, be who you are, bring who you are, into into healthcare, into the medical school. And I think most importantly, at the end of the day is, find that purpose of why you're here and what you're doing, and you will naturally enjoy it. And I think it's somehow linked to the earlier question of how you're going to cope. You're coping not because you feel like everybody is doing it. You're coping because you're enjoying what you're doing, and you totally find meaning and purpose. So at this point, I'm kind of going to go to the next question, which is a bit more general. Perhaps Prof. Marion would like to start us off. What are some opportunities that in the field of medicine or healthcare that a junior college student can do in order to gain some experience prior to application?
Maybe I should clarify the question you're asking me. Are you asking what a junior college student could do to prepare themselves for a potential career in medicine? Is that the question?
All right, we'll take that. Yes.
Right.
What a JC student could prepare themselves?
Well, I think the core, unfortunately or fortunately, is the fact that you must take the correct subjects because that would be a prerequisite. So you need to actually have taken the correct subjects in school in order to qualify you academically to apply for medicine. Then the second thing is for you to ask yourself, do you have the values and qualities that would make you suitable for a career which is actually in service of other people, right? So in healthcare, we actually work for our patients, we work with our patients, we work in teams in order to provide that care to patients. So maybe you could ask yourself, are you the type of person that likes to work individually? Are you the type of person that likes to work in a team setting? How do you actually interact with people? Do you love interacting with people? Are you able to work with people from all walks of life? Because in healthcare, we, in that sense, don't choose our patients. We basically will treat anybody and whoever walks in through the door. And therefore, are you the type of person that can actually identify, empathize with people from all walks of life? So anything that you do, from now until the next couple of years, to give you those experiences and those opportunities to discover yourself, find out what makes you tick, I think would be useful.
Thank you very much. So on that note, back to the students again, actually, this is a very interesting question. Do you have any regrets about medicine? Any advice to aspiring applicants?
I had one regret, but I feel like I'm accomplishing that because when I entered medicine, like most of the other girls, especially who'll be applying, is right after JC. And to be honest, being 18 or 19 and having to make a decision that will basically define the rest of your life is kind of a big thing to do. And sometimes you wonder, like, no matter how interested you are in medicine, how much you're sure you want to be a clinician, you wonder, like, maybe should I have taken some time off to learn something different, do something else with my life, and, like, I don't know, get a job. And it was during COVID time, so it was a bit hard. But that's actually why I'm so grateful for the M3 elective, because I feel like even though I've chosen art therapy, this is the time when I'm seeing a lot of my friends take up jobs, take up electives in universities that are doing courses completely different. Some of them are doing farming, some of them are doing cooking, some people are doing life science, environmental science, and ultimately there is time for you to kind of make up for this time that you feel like you've lost. So personally for me, even though I had this, it wasn't exactly a regret because I never regretted joining medicine ever, and I never regretted choosing NUS medicine personally, but whatever small inkling of doubt that I had of like, maybe I should have studied something different, I feel like this time was a very good time that's available for me to, with the support of the school, find a way to really accomplish that as well, and then make it a way to have more meaning in my clinical life. So I think ultimately, as long as like Prof. Marian said, shadowing, learning more about what the life that you're getting into is, what career you're choosing, as long as you're sure of yourself and you have an understanding that even though this might not be 100% of your life, if you're committed to making it like the meaning of your life at least, and that you can find sufficient meaning in it, it is quite difficult to find regrets in joining medicine, in my experience. And there's always a way to make up for any regrets that you have.
Oh, thank you so much, Ria. Any regrets after first year?
Well, personally for me, there haven't been any regrets. But I think just to touch on Ria's points, having had our in-person open house just recently, there were quite a few students who actually came up to ask, you know, how do you know that this path is for you for the next 10, 11 years that you've signed your life? How do you know this is going to be what you want to do? And I assume that, you know, there is this lingering fear of regretting joining medicine, and you know, if you apply and if you get in, then, you know, oh no, I'm stuck here. And I think to any one of you who may be feeling this, I think the answer is that you will never really know. You'll never really know if this is for you. However, you can do your best to find out as much as possible what this decision, what this career truly entails. And so if you've done that, if you know you've done your best to decide for yourself, then trust the process. Trust that the school has also seen qualities in you that will keep you going. And so in that, I hope that minimizes anyone's fear of regret.
Well, last but not least, we go to the other person on the other spectrum, someone who is very, very experienced. Do you have any regret?
Oh, okay. So I was actually going to answer the question about the medical student first. Let me answer that first. So I think if any one of you is uncertain whether medicine is for you, I would say take the year to think about it. Because realistically, you know, a career in medicine, if you think about it, you're going to be a doctor the next 20, 30, even 40 years of your life. It's the rest of your life. And therefore, it would be important for you to be as close to certain as you could potentially be. And I would say if you doubt at this point whether medicine is for you, I would say take the year. You know, take 1 year, take 2 years to decide what you want to do. You could always take a gap year, apply for medicine next year. You could take a first degree in any subject and then potentially come back to do medicine as a graduate student. So Singapore, we actually do have a graduate medical school. So for people who have done a first degree because they're not so certain, and then think after that they want to do medicine, you can actually enter medicine again as a graduate student. For myself, to answer the question, I would say no regrets, no regrets. I would say it's a choice. Definitely there are sacrifices. One would need to be fairly disciplined. You may not be able to play as much as you want. You may not be able to meet up with your friends as much as you want. But I think if you're disciplined, you ring-fence your time, you sort of set aside time to do different things. There's always a time and place for things. And it is actually possible to do a bit of everything. Yeah.
Well, I guess I hope that also answers one of the question, right? How do you juggle as a doctor and also with your family? Yeah, so perhaps I'll move on to one question which I know that we will get it every year, right? And I'm not going to pretend like that it's not there, but we'll try our best to try to address this. Why choose NUS-Med over other medical schools in Singapore?
I can
Go ahead
and explain. Okay, so personally for me, I mean, I had a whole list of reasons of why I wanted NUS Medicine, of course, because I mean, it's a great school, really very, very strong culture, and there's a lot of history, there's a lot of clinicians who have graduated from NUS that you can rely on, and you see them all around the hospital, and there's this sense of connection where they want to take care of you. But I think ultimately, when you're looking at what university to join, you have to really think about, number one, what's the teaching methods that are used in the university and what will work best for you. Because you can join any university you want and any school you want, but if the way that they teach there is not something that suits your manner of learning, it will only hinder you. And at the same time, if you find a school that is having a completely different set of learning, completely different set of values, people that are different, but it works for you, then that's good for you as well. So ultimately, all you need to do is really research about all your different options and decide on what's best for you. I would highly recommend speaking to seniors, speaking to friends who might have chosen one school over the other or vice versa, and also speaking to adults who are already in the workforce from all the different universities, even not just Singapore, especially like the overseas universities where you can study medicine as well, and then choosing based on that what your priorities are, what learning style suits you, what you want to do in the future, and maybe even for me personally, because I had friends who were seniors already in NUS Medicine that I knew I could rely on, even some other factors like these are all things that will play into what your decision is. And ultimately, it's never a question of, oh, which school is better, which one is going to make me a better doctor, because you will turn out to be a good doctor if you put in the due diligence and do your work and you make opportunities for yourself and you study. The real question you should be asking yourself is like, where am I going to be able to do that in a happy environment where I feel like I'm taken care of and where I feel like is the path of least resistance and something that really, really works for you.
All right.
Thanks. I think just to echo Ria's point, if I were to think back to the times that I was looking on the internet for all these different options, I think one of the biggest struggles is looking at all these options available, and truth be told, all of them on paper look very good, very enticing. And so that perhaps is where the struggle is coming from. And so just to echo Ria's points, I think putting in the due diligence to really find out for yourself. And so just as she has mentioned as well, on top of just reading and listening to talks given by the school, to really reach out to members who are in the school population itself to see what the on-ground experience really is. And so with that, you put together all the information you have and then take that leap of faith, of course, to trust in the process that what you've chosen for yourself is true to who you are. And if this is somewhere that you fit in, then you will know it, I think, when you join the right place for you.
All right. I guess with that, we are coming close to the end of this panel discussion, even though, I like to talk very much. And but before we move on, perhaps I invite each of our panelists, right, about 30 seconds or 20 seconds, one last final tip or hack to our applicants or word of encouragement. Maybe starting from Nathan?
One final tip. Be yourself. I think that's one of the hardest things to do sometimes when there's so much stress and so much pressure on you during the interview day itself, the interview process. Just know that the school appreciates who you are as a person and everything that you're bringing to the table, and there's no need for you to be someone that you're not. And so present that to the best of your ability to the interviewers, and I'm sure they will see it. So yeah, be yourself.
Well said, Nathan. I completely agree with what you said. And I guess also it's about, I guess that's for the interview process. I think it's also about knowing if, to some extent, take the time to figure out if this is really what you want. The answers may not be very clear right now, but still make the effort to find out if this is truly what you want. take a bit of time to look at the other courses which are available to see what about medicine is truly appealing to you, which is, and maybe when you look at other courses, you may also have different thoughts, different ideas. Take that time to explore. Don't rush into that entire process. Yeah. Thank you.
I think building on what Dr. Indrani said, something maybe a bit more direct in the interview itself. I think a lot of people get very stressed because there's a lot of questions and a lot of eyes on you, and everyone wants to portray themselves in the best way possible. But ultimately, take a few seconds if you need it, and explain that you need a few seconds to think about your answers, and recount again what points you want to bring across before you start speaking, because the interviewers aren't there to just stress you out, and they ultimately want to get to know you better and really know whether you're suitable for the course. So my personal recommendation is after every question, maybe just take 4 or 5 seconds to think through your answer, think about whether it really portrays who you are, and most of all, be humble when you speak, and understand why you want to join medicine and what joining NUS Medicine can do for you and what you can do for the school, and try to portray that in the most humble and honest way possible. And it goes back to what Nathan said of just be yourself and don't try to act more or less. Don't undersell and don't oversell yourself. Just really be honest to who you are and take the time to show that to the panel.
Yeah. In fact, I don't think I can add too much more to what has already been said, because really it's being true, being authentic. Sometimes it's actually difficult to know yourself, but it might be good to sort of spend some time thinking about what you value, what makes you tick, what makes you feel fulfilled, and what makes you happy in terms of giving back or serving, because really a life in medicine is really one of service. And I think, to answer Tze Xiong's question earlier about how would you choose between where to study, which school to study, really is where you think you would be a good fit. Where do you think you can actually serve? Because I think in serving people, you actually get greater joy and meaning in what you do. So figuring out where you think you would fit best and how best you can serve might actually help you decide where you want to be.
Right, thank you so much. And with that, I maybe just add on a little bit to say, number one, assessors are very, very nice. Okay. Number two, it's really about shutting yourself out from all the distractions, the noises and everything from our friends, from sometimes even family, from society, from everything. Ask yourself, when you're alone, is this what you really want? And what else? And last but not least, I think what the 4 panelists have said about being yourself, finding your purpose, that's so true. I mean, being yourself is not just advice that is golden to applying to the medical school, but it's also a great dating and marriage advice as well. So on that note, I know I need to wrap up, which is not something that I want to do, but something that I need to do. So I will have to call this panel to a close, and I'd like to thank all panelists for their precious time. And I invite all our audience and participants to adjourn to the Ask Me Anything room, all right, for us to take on more intimate discussions about more specific topics with regards to life in NUS Medicine, as well as life in NUS in general. With that, over to you, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Prof. Chen and our panelists. We'll now take a short break. When we come back, our Ask Me Anything rooms will be open. There, you will meet our current students and faculty members who are ready to answer any questions you may have about our program, the application process, and more. In the meantime, check out our booths on this platform and visit our Metaverse, which was built in Spatial. Do tag us in photos and screenshots of your custom avatar in the space. For more information, head over to nusmedicineopenhouse.sg. See you on campus.